Today marks 28 weeks. We are finally into our third trimester of pregnancy. The third trimester, which is 28 through 40 weeks, the body is very different. And even experienced lifters like myself that has been in the game for a very long time, there's still some modifications that we need to make when it comes to our workout regimen. So in today's video, we're going to be going over my new current workout regimen and some safe versus unsafe exercises during the third trimester of pregnancy. And of course, I have to put out a disclaimer. This is my current workout routine that is specific to my needs, specific to my goals and my activity level. And this workout routine my OB allows me to do. I always like to say that every pregnancy is different. So just because something works for me does not mean that it may work for you. So always reach out to your OB before starting any new workout regimen. Avoid anything that restricts blood flow. This doesn't only pertain to lying on your back during bedtime, but you also want to avoid any exercises that you have to lay on your back because this is going to restrict blood flow to the baby. So I started off in the first and a little bit of the second trimester doing flat bench, but in between maybe like 24, 25 weeks, I really didn't start to feel comfortable laying on my back doing any kind of flat bench. And of course, since I'm finally into my third trimester, I have been avoiding any kind of flat bench, whether that's a dumbbell chest press, dumbbell chest fly, or even a simple barbell bench press. I have been using an incline bench rather than a flat bench. So I make sure that the incline bench is at least 15 to 30 degrees at an incline, and I can still do the same movements that I've done before. The only difference is I'm not laying on my back. So you can still bench press, but make sure your incline is at least at 15 to 30 degrees. As long as the bench is at a slight incline, that's going to be more beneficial and more safe than lying directly on your back. We also want to avoid anything that's going to overstretch our pelvic floor. Now our pelvic floor needs both flexibility and strength to prepare for labor and delivery. In the third trimester, your pelvic floor is already stretched from the baby's weight, and certain exercises can overstretch those pelvic floor muscles, leading to issues like incontinence or delayed postpartum healing. So any kind of deep heavy squats or lunges, or your typical barbell deadlifts, even sumo or conventional stance, all of those are going to overstretch your hip and pelvic floor muscles, which we want to avoid. Now, I've been faithfully keeping squats and lunges into my workout routine, not so much with deadlifts, but when it comes to squats and lunges, I really do not go as heavy, but I do like to squat deep into my squats. And of course, I like to elevate my front heel to get that deeper stretch into that lunge. But now again, since I'm into the third trimester, I'm going to modify the D squats for box squats or goblet squats using a box that is at least the height to my knees. And instead of doing elevated heel lunges, whether that's reverse, front lunges, split squats, whatever the case may be, I'm going to substitute that just for plain lunges without having my front heel elevated to give me that deeper stretch. So the key factor when it comes to squats and lunges to not overstretch your pelvic floor muscles, you want to squat or lunge to at least parallel. You do not want to break that 45-degree bend. We always want to lighten the load. Of course, this is not the time to be lifting heavy weights. Keep your RPE, which is rated of perceived exertion, to around 6 to 7. But when you start to get up to the 8, 9, and 10, especially during the third trimester, that is way too much exertion on your body. So keep it to a minimum. Keep your rate of perceived exertion to around 6 to 7, using a lighter load, squatting depth or to parallel, but not squatting any deeper than that, and prioritizing stability and correct form. Now, when it comes to sumo and conventional deadlifts, I've pulled some deadlifts a couple times here and there throughout my pregnancy journey, but I really only focus on squats and lunges because that just felt more safe and natural to me. But during the third trimester, we want to substitute the sumo or conventional deadlift because when it comes to sumo stance, especially when you're having that wide stance behind the bar, it's going to externally rotate your hips too excessively, which again can strain the pelvic floor. And then when it comes to conventional deadlifts, when your belly starts to grow, it's going to be harder to maintain a straight and flat back to lift a heavy bar off the ground. So instead of doing super wide sumo stance, you can substitute this for a sumo squat with kettlebells, but not having your stance too wide. Or if you still want to get that conventional movement into your workout routine, you can substitute a conventional deadlift for a trap bar deadlift with a lighter load because this is easier easier to set up, and it's a lot easier to maintain a flat back when you're using a trap bar versus a traditional deadlift bar. And of course, deadlifts are not the only way to target your posterior chain, so you can always substitute both of these for a Romanian deadlift just to target those hamstrings. This is going to be safe on your pelvic floor muscles. This is safe on your belly. As long as you're not overstretching or going down too far into the RDL, this is a perfect exercise that you can add into your routine. High impact or plyometric movements. So this is going to include box jumps, burpees, jumping jacks, mountain climbers, explosive kettlebell swings. All of those things I was okay with doing in the first trimester and maybe a little bit into the second trimester. But these explosive kinds of movements increases the risk of falling and hurting yourself. And this is like a zone 3 type of cardio-based movement where most likely you're going to feel overexerted. So we want to substitute these plyometric movements with body weight functional movements. These are perfect to staying strong and mobile without having to do too much jumping or running. So again, like the things that we went over, doing any kind of squats, lunges, glute bridges, wall sits, any functional kind of movement to focus on control and speed. Work through the movements with a comfortable range of motion, while also, of course, keeping your pelvic floor in mind and not overstretching your pelvic floor muscles. We went over this a couple of times throughout some of the videos on my channel, but we want to avoid direct stress on our abdominal muscles to prevent diastasis recti or ab separation during pregnancy. Of course, any kind of ab exercises we want to avoid, and you want to start incorporating more deep core muscle movements. So any kind of ab exercises can include crunches, Russian twists, sit-ups, and we also want to incorporate deep core muscle movement like our bird dogs, modified side planks, bear crawls, any core movements that are on our hands and knees. Those are going to be more safe on our abdominal muscles, and it's going to prevent that mommy pooch or the overstretching of our abdominal area. Last but not least, we're going to get into the different forms of cardio. When it comes to cardio, there are 3 different zones: zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. Zone 1 is very easy. It's light, and you can usually talk throughout this exercise. So whether that's walking without an incline, walking on a flat ground, going swimming, doing any kind of prenatal yoga or light Pilates are going to be considered zone 1. Now zone 2 is moderate exercise, starting to breathe heavier, but your breathing is more controlled than zone 3. This includes brisk walking with a slight incline, steady pace on a cycling bike or a Stairmaster, or using a rowing machine. And last but not least, we have zone 3. This one is hard. This one you can only speak a few words and your body is starting to feel more exerted. So doing any kind of HIIT type of training, HIIT circuits, running or jogging at a fast pace, or doing any kind of sprints is considered a zone 3 cardio. Now, when it comes to pregnancy and the 3rd trimester, I've started to notice that I am feeling easily more exerted. So I started to slow down on zone 2 and started focusing on zone 1 cardio. I've noticed that I had to start walking slower on the treadmill, and I can't do as high as an incline as I've done between like the 1st and 2nd trimester. I stick to around a 3 to 4 incline, and instead of walking 3 miles per hour, which I could easily do before and during like the 1st and 2nd trimester of pregnancy, now I'm doing more of like a 2 to 2.5 speed. I'm still doing the Stairmaster, but I'm making sure that I'm going a lot more slower and going at a steady pace. So when it comes to the 3rd trimester, you want to keep it between zone 1 and a light zone 2. I would opt for more zone 1 exercises just because it's safe, it's more effective. You don't have to worry about overexerting yourself, but you can incorporate some zone 2 as long as it's safe and of course you're not overly exerting yourself. So a mixture between zone 1 and a light zone 2 is a perfect place to stay during the 3rd trimester of pregnancy, but we really want to stay away from any kind of zone 3 cardio. We made it into the 3rd trimester and we only have a little bit of time left before our little ones are here. The takeaway of this video is just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should, and you really need to focus more on exercises that are safe for your body and your baby and safely preparing your body for labor and delivery. Please do not give up on your fitness journey just because it's the 3rd trimester and labor and delivery is slowly approaching. Does not mean that you have to fall off of your goals. As long as you are doing safe exercises and you're physically and mentally adapting to the constant changes in your body, that is all that matters. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.